Professor Nam-Yong's column, Long, The Urgent Need to Construct the Northwestern Extension of the Shinbundang Line to Guarantee Mobility Rights for the Transportation Vulnerable and Revitalize the Economy of Northwestern Seoul, I diagnose the essence of the problem and its structural dimensions. Seoul is a global megacity with a population of approximately 9.4 million, while the Seoul metropolitan area is home to about 26 million people. Seoul's gross regional domestic product amounts to roughly KRW 500 trillion, accounting for approximately 22% of the total GDP of the Republic of Korea. However, the spatial distribution of transportation infrastructure is not balanced. The average commuting time in Seoul ranges from approximately 58 to 62 minutes, and in some northwestern districts it exceeds 65 minutes. Compared with the OECD average commuting time for major metropolitan areas, which is in the mid-30-minute range, Seoul is structurally a long commute city. I define this gap not as a matter of inconvenience, but as an imbalance in access to opportunity. Seoul has approximately 3.17 million registered vehicles, equivalent to about 330 vehicles per 1,000 residents. The transportation sector accounts for more than 20% of Seoul's total greenhouse gas emissions, making it a critical area of environmental policy. In contrast, areas with strong urban rail accessibility maintain a public transportation modal share of over 60%. Some northwestern districts lack a core rapid rail access, resulting in heavy reliance on bus transfers and longer average travel times. Transportation inequality directly translates into disparities in quality of life and asset values. I assert that the northwestern extension of the Shinbundang line is essential to resolving this structural imbalance. According to Statistics Korea, the proportion of residents aged 65 and over in Seoul is approximately 21%, while Jongno district exceeds the city average at around 23%. Eunpyeong district is also approaching 20%. In a super-age society, mobility rights are not merely a matter of convenience, but are directly linked to survival and dignity. Increased travel time to medical facilities has been identified as a factor exacerbating health inequality. I redefine transportation infrastructure as a core pillar of policy response to an aging society. Let us identify the stakeholders and examine the relational structure. Stakeholders in transportation policy include residents, small business owners, corporations, workers, the central government, the Seoul metropolitan government, public investment institutions, and financial institutions. Residents seek reduced travel time and stabilization of asset values. Small business owners expect increased foot traffic and higher sales. Corporations prioritize access to talent and logistics efficiency. The public sector must consider both fiscal soundness and policy effectiveness. I integrate the interests of these groups around the common variables of travel time and accessibility. According to analyses by the Seoul Institute and the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport, commercial sales in station areas have increased on average between 5 and 15% following the construction or extension of rail lines. Residential properties within a 500-meter radius of stations tend to command a price premium exceeding 10% compared with non-station areas. This is not a short-term speculative effect, but the structural outcome of improved accessibility. Transportation networks function as platforms for economic activity. I argue that the Shinbundang Line Northwestern Extension must be designed to create a virtuous cycle of mutual benefit among stakeholders. From the perspective of transportation vulnerable populations, expanding low-floor buses alone is insufficient. Urban rail offers punctuality and safety, making it particularly suitable for the elderly and persons with disabilities. The Act on Promotion of Transportation Convenience for the Mobility Disadvantaged clearly stipulates the responsibilities of the state and local governments. In a super-aged society, improved access to public transportation reduces medical expenditures and mitigates social isolation. I maintain that mobility rights must be established as a core indicator of welfare policy. Let us compare internationally through the lens of global standards. OECD reports indicate a strong correlation between metropolitan productivity and travel time. Longer commuting times are associated with reduced labor productivity. London's Crossrail has been evaluated as generating annual time-saving benefits worth billions of pounds. Paris's Grand Paris Express aims to reduce average commuting times by more than 20 minutes by connecting peripheral areas with the urban core. These international cases demonstrate that rapid transit corridors are decisive factors in urban competitiveness. The Shinbundang line is a semi-high-speed urban railway characterized by high operating speed and direct connectivity. Existing sections in the Gangnam Corridor have significantly reduced travel times by absorbing commuter demand. Extending this line to the northwest would complete a high-speed axis linking Gwanghwamun, Gangnam, and Pangyo. This is not a mere route expansion, but a strategic initiative that reshapes Seoul's economic geography. I define it as a structural leap project for northwestern Seoul. Data from the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund indicate that infrastructure investment has a positive impact on long-term economic growth. Every unit of investment in transportation infrastructure can generate more than 1 unit of long-term economic spillover effects. In particular, the expansion of metropolitan rail networks strengthens agglomeration economies. For Seoul to advance as a global financial and technological hub, improving accessibility in the northwest is indispensable. An integrated policy design based on the Federal Enterprise Architecture framework is required. From the FEA perspective, transportation is not a single function, but an integrated domain encompassing welfare, economic development, environment, and safety. I analyzed transportation policy in connection with 4 major business areas. Improved transportation accessibility simultaneously promotes economic activity, reduces welfare expenditures, and enhances environmental outcomes. This is not a standalone project, but a multifunctional integrated initiative. The National Finance Act and the Local Finance Act require comprehensive evaluation of economic feasibility, policy relevance, and regional balance through preliminary feasibility studies. In calculating the benefit-cost ratio, time savings, accident reduction, and environmental improvement benefits must be included. A 10-minute reduction in travel time can be converted into annual time value savings amounting to hundreds of billions of won. I conclude that a reassessment incorporating full social benefits is necessary. Financing can combine national and municipal funds with phased construction. Linking value capture mechanisms and high-density development around station areas can maintain fiscal sustainability. The use of digital twin technology and smart construction methods can reduce costs and enhance safety. I argue that scientific and engineering-based approaches must be employed to maximize project efficiency. Let me present policy prescriptions and implementation strategies. First, a renewed preliminary feasibility assessment must reflect equity and social benefits. Second, the northwestern extension of the Shinbundang line must be incorporated as a core axis in metropolitan transportation planning. Third, indicators of mobility rights for the transportation vulnerable must be included in performance evaluation. I advocate the introduction of a KPI-based management system. Seoul's public transportation modal share stands at approximately 65%, which is relatively high. However, areas lacking rapid transit corridors exhibit higher dependence on private vehicles. Expanding the rail network reduces road congestion costs, which are estimated to amount to trillions of won annually in social losses. I emphasize that transportation investment should be recognized not as fiscal expenditure, but as the creation of future returns. An honest citizen makes rational choices when presented with data and structural analysis. Emotional arguments cannot design the future of a city. The northwestern extension of the Shinbundang line is strategic infrastructure that guarantees mobility rights for the transportation vulnerable and revitalizes the regional economy. It is not an option, but a necessity. I am convinced that through this project we can achieve a structural leap forward for northwestern Seoul. Thank you for watching Professor Lee Nam-Yong's column, Long.